Welcome to Lesson 2 of the Creative Prayer Book. I'm Eric Scott, and each week I'm coming to you with a different lesson working in this tiny little sketchbook from Stillman and Byrne. So I'm creating a prayer book, but it's not, for me, it's not about prayers. It's about creating some kind of creative affirmations that will help remind me about my creative journey. But for you, use it any way that you really feel that you need to. So I've started this book. I really don't know what those affirmations, what those prayers are going to be yet, but I've already started, and I shared last week some of the watercolor techniques as a way to get started in the book. And so here I have one of the pages that I worked on last week, but I kept working on it. And I've done a lot more. I've added more pages to it. I've already started some of the second lesson in this, and I'll share with you what that's going to be in a few minutes. But I did a lot of different watercolor techniques in this, even after I did the video. So that way I'm about not quite halfway. I think this book has 90 some pages, and I'm not quite halfway through with the watercolor. I just wanted to get some things going in the book. I didn't want to focus on trying to make a single page at a time. That's just not the way I work. Also, I'm not worrying about filling up every page, but it really depends on how many pages that you have. So today, the lesson, you've gotten some peeks of it, is really about using pencil and collage. So you're going to need a few materials. The first thing, of course, you're going to need a pencil. So here I have a yellow number 2 pencil that we all know from our school days. This is a Dixon Ticonderoga. It's one of my personal favorites, but use whatever you have. If you have high quality or good quality graphite drawing pencils, by all means use that, but just a standard number 2. Now that number 2 stands for a 2HB, which HB means it's both hard and soft. It'll give you some light and some dark marks. So that's good to have. And then I have my glue stick for the collage. So I use Uhu. I know some people hate glue stick. They'll swear that it doesn't work, that no matter how good of a brand it is. But I find that Uhu works really well. It's an acid-free material. It cleans up very easily. Now this says magic blue, and it is very, very blue, but the nice thing is that it dries totally clear. The blue really lets you see that you've put a lot of glue on there, and I think that's part of why people don't like glue stick. They just don't use it effectively. So I'm going to show you how I use it effectively. Now they did change the packaging, and it used to come in like this. So but really pretty much any glue stick is going to work pretty well if you use it effectively. Along with the glue stick, I have a pad of paper. So this is an old kind of blank sketchbook. I haven't drawn anything. It has really thin paper in it, but I use it as a glue pad. So that way, as I'm gluing, the glue gets on the surface of here and not on the surface that I'm working on. So I have that, and then of course I have my collage materials, my fodder. So if you've ever wondered what fodder is in the name of Journal Fodder Junkies, the word fodder means food for livestock. It's coarse, dry livestock food. So for us, it's food for the journal. So I've got some book pages from a book that was falling apart, some different colored papers. I have a piece of newspaper, a map, and I have some graphing paper. So this is stuff that doesn't have a strong image on it. I'm not using photographs. I'm not using magazine images yet. Those might be things that come in later. But for right now, I want things that are going to kind of fade into the background, that are going to add color or texture or pattern to my pages. I'm not looking for something that's really going to make a statement yet, because I really don't know what my statement is going to be on my pages. So even like these little tickets that I've had from various raffles, they're great because they don't have a strong image. So anyway, let's go ahead and start with our pencil and some drawing. And one of the things I want you to take note of is that I'm not drawing pictures, I'm not doing words yet. I'm just kind of creating some shapes. I like to use geometric shaped and straight lines, but use whatever you like. So, but you can see how I've used some of the pencil to add some shapes. Now, one of the things that I'm trying to keep in mind is I want to make it look like the pages transition from one to another. So on this one, we can see how, there's lots of yellows and greens, and that helps tie into this page. But then also the shapes. So the circle over here actually ties in with that half of a circle. No, it's a little hard to see. There it is. That half a circle right there. So I'm really trying to, whether I'm painting or collaging, trying to make things kind of flow. So here I have some circles. Maybe I'm going to flip the page. This has some of those same little circles, so maybe I want to trace them like I did on my other page. But then there's the grid. This is part of that plastic canvas, that circular piece that I used last week. So I'm just going to continue doing some circles, just kind of jumping around. I'm not worrying about putting a ton on there. I'm just trying to get a few circles down to kind of help fill up that page. And notice what I'm doing is I'm allowing some of the circles to go off the edge. So that's one way to kind of help tie things together. So how do I tie this page to this page? Well, it ties together because of the colors. But now let's see, where did I use the circles? So if I look carefully, I can actually put the circles, and if I can really try to make them line up better. So on here I can do that. So again, just trying to draw it so that way as I flip through, I see that's there, oh, that's there, and now it's up there. So anyway, I'm just going to kind of maybe continue some circles across there, maybe one more right here. Okay, so I don't have to do that to every page. So as I flip here, again, there's that blue helping to tie it together. So maybe I don't want to do anything yet to this page. I've already done some to here. It's a little hard to see with that glare from the studio light, but you can use the drawing as a means to get something started on a page. So maybe I can do some of my squares and rectangles on here, just as a way to get it started. Okay, so I like to flip back and forth, so I can flip back. You can see again how I've used some other lines and shapes. So anyway, it's just about drawing lines. I'm not drawing pictures, I'm not drawing letters. It's just some lines, some shapes to get some things started. So anyway, that's pretty good for that. Let's kind of see. Okay, I think on here, this might be a good spot to do something. I've got some of this colored paper. I have this kind of tan color that I like, and I think I just want to do a stripe. So if I cut off a stripe or a strip of paper, oops, it went flying. Let me reach over here and grab it. So this is, I could glue it this way, but I want to glue it vertically, especially since I have the two vertical lines there, but it's too long. But you know what, since I'm trying to make it go from one page to another, I can take this, maybe line it up, and then if I rub and bend it over the edge, I get a line. So I could cut that, or in this case, I'm going to fold it over. And so what that does, it gives me a place that I know that this is going to fold over and kind of go over to the next page. Okay, so that's one way again to continue one page to another. So let's use my glue paper. What I do is I take my collage element, I turn it upside down on top of my glue paper, I open up my glue, and I think what happens is, like, when people do this, they just wipe it down real quick. I think that's why it doesn't stick. You really have to, get out a good chunk of that glue so it's up there a lot, and then really, you don't just wipe it a couple times. I mean, I barely got any glue, and you could see the blue. That's why I like this. And so I really spread it on so it's covering the entire back. I mean, look at it. The whole thing's blue. It's all covered with glue. it looks kind of slimy, and that's exactly what I want. I want it to go all the way over, all the way on, okay? And that's going to really make it get stuck on there. And I think that's the biggest problem that people have. So now this glue is going to dry totally clear. But when I pick it up, notice how I picked it up with the glue stick. So if you have a small piece of fodder, you can really easily pick it up with that. But notice all this glue on here. So that could have gotten on my surface. And I think that's why people don't like it, because they don't want it to get all over their work surface, so they don't spread it all the way around. So anyway, let's go ahead and be careful, because I don't want glue on everything. But I'll lay this down, trying to get my fold right there at the edge. Flip the paper over, fold that up. And what I'm going to do is rub it, kind of, not, you don't have to do it real fast. What a lot of people do is they want to whack it, they want to hit it. I don't know why, especially with younger students. Kids want to do that. I don't know, maybe they just like banging stuff and making noise, but I've seen enough adults do it too. But just a nice slow steady rubbing. If you've got a bone folder or a scraper or something, that can work as well. And you know, because that glue is on there and it's spread on there pretty evenly, I didn't get a whole bunch that oozed out. Okay, so when you use liquid glues, a lot of times you get glue that oozes out. So anyway, that's one way you can kind of wrap things over. So I'm really just kind of gluing down some of these bits and pieces. Let's go ahead and do some of this pages from a book. So you can already see I cut out a circle. Let's go ahead and do that again. Let's go ahead and cut out another circle. And so I'm just gluing in bits and pieces and shapes just to get some things down. I'm not covering up all of the watercolor that I've done. Now, if you wanted it to be a better circle, more perfect circle, then feel free to use a circle punch or use a circle stencil or a compass to draw it. Now I could glue this on the same paper. I'm actually going to flip it over, but I think I'm going to find a different space. So just like the drawing, I don't have to do it on every single one. Maybe I'll do it right there. Okay, so just like before, I flip this over, take some glue, and notice how I hold the piece kind of like with a finger, and that's the last part that I try to get. And like I said before, I can actually use the glue stick to pick up the piece of fodder. And when I glue this in, I don't have to read the words. I mean, it's okay if they're upside down, or in this case, I'm going to turn them sideways. So if you can't read the words, it's not a big deal, because I'm going to do more stuff on top of it. Now this paper is really thin, so I can just rub it down really quickly and it's going to stick. Okay. Now this glue is water soluble. It washes up with warm water and soap. That means that if I paint over it, it can start to peel off. But if I let it dry completely, it's less likely it's going to peel off too badly. I know that drives some people nuts, but I still do it. Since I'm using watercolor and watercolor pencil, I don't want to have acrylic on here. So I'm not using gel medium, and I'm not covering my paper with all this acrylic paint. So the glue stick really is best to use for the materials that I'm doing, the watercolor, the watercolor pencil and stuff. So anyway, you don't need to sit and watch me glue in a whole bunch of fodder, but I just wanted to give you a quick tutorial about how I glue stuff in, and then using some pencil to do some drawing. So anyway, thank you for joining me for lesson 2. I'll see you next week for lesson 3. So happy creating.